Hi there. Welcome to Inside Leisure World number 32. My name is Betty Martin, and I want to thank you for letting me into your home this afternoon. You know, we live here in Leisure World, and it's a very large community of senior citizens. Some are weak and frail, but, you know, in spite of that, we all feel relatively safe behind our guarded gates. And we should feel safe. I mean, it's a wonderful place to live, and it is a safe place to live. But did you ever stop to think, what would we do if there were a real disaster, say an earthquake or something like that, that put out our power? Maybe we have no electricity, no lights, no telephones. Maybe even some of our buildings be damaged, and maybe some of our residents be injured. Does Leisure World have any kind of a plan for getting us out of it, helping us, aiding us during such a situation? Maybe it'd even be in the dead of night and it'd be all pitch black out there. Who's going to be there to help us? Well, my two guests today should be able to at least partially put our minds at ease about such situation. So I'd like to introduce you to Merv Smith and Carlson. See, Merv is, you're an employee of Golden Rain.
Right,
and work under the under the Security Division.
Security Department, right.
And Carlson, you are acting vice president. You're a resident and acting vice president of the Amateur Radio Club in Leisure World.
Correct. Mm-hmm.
Okay, let's talk about this now. Merv, why don't you start us off?
Okay, well, your comment about what would you do in the middle of the night, that's
Yeah.
always a concern of ours. And in fact, that entails my job because I am the emergency safety coordinator. Part of my job is safety training to the OSHA standards for the employees. And the other part of the job, and I feel probably one of the most important, is the emergency preparedness for the community. And we have adopted the same plan that the City of Seal Beach has, the County of Orange, and everyone else in the state. This was mandated by the governor out of his office for emergency services in Sacramento. And it's called the Standardized Emergency Management System. It came about because a few years ago, if you recall the big fire that they had in Oakland that burned down most of the city up there,
Right.
they called in fire departments and police departments from all over the state for that, and none of them had the right radio frequencies. Their hoses wouldn't fit the fire hydrants, so it was really a mess. And so the governor said, we will standardize everything in the state so that everybody has the right type of equipment. We all know each other's radio frequencies, and we can also provide help for any other community working in the same plan. About 3 years ago, I and Carl trained with the City of Seal Beach while they had their training. And since then, we've adopted their plan, only we go a little step farther than anyone else. We have not only a Golden Rain employee that will take part in this thing, but we also have a resident counterpart, so that if we're not there, the residents can take over, run the whole system, and help each other out until help from the outside can come in.
And that's where Carl comes in,
Right.
with the Amateur Radio Club in Leisure World.
That's right. We try to fill in when the employees are gone. Our main thing is communications, of course. We have our counterparts, and mine happens to be Merv, so he's there 8 hours a day, plus, of course. But when he's not there, someone has to be able to maintain communications. And our thought about amateur radio is when the power goes out, cell phones don't work.
That's right. Cell phones don't even work.
No,
Right.
nothing
No
else is
cell
working.
phones?
It's a good chance your regular telephones won't work.
No.
Determined by the amount and the type of disaster.
Right. So all we have is shortwave.
That is correct. Well, it's not truly shortwave under the normal term, because these are very high frequency radios we're using now, and they're limited to line of sight, although we can extend them by mountaintop repeaters that we have available. In fact, we have a very nice system sitting on top of the local Boeing building here, which will repeat out to extended distances. We can go virtually anywhere in California through this system.
So if we had a lot of damage and injuries in Leisure World, you would just get on your radio and get some outside help in the dead of the night, right?
Yes, that has no effect on us at all. As long as we're able to function, we can communicate. Now, our primary source will probably be the Los Alamitos airfield there, because that's our closest one for the state of California.
Well, yeah.
We have our participants there who are also amateurs, and they will, if possible, get to that location. So we're pretty well covered as far as the communications end. One of our big things right now is because of the nature of Leisure World, the residents have to meet a certain minimum age to even be in there. So they aren't amateurs too awfully long, and many of them are not amateurs when they come in. We sort of train them.
Oh, yeah?
Oh, yes.
But they have to get a license and pass the FCC.
But the FCC has relaxed conditions now to the point where in a 2-day course, actually, you can get the lowest standard of minimum license.
In 2 days?
In 2 days.
Exactly.
And you can get on it.
No kidding.
Now, I've myself been an amateur for 36 years now.
Mm-hmm.
And I've trained an awful lot of people. And I find one thing, I'm still learning.
Uh-huh. That's just an ongoing thing.
It is, and it's evolving. So there's always a new thing to learn. But as I try to tell new residents, or anyone in that area for that matter, that wants to become an amateur, it's so simple. Why fight it? We have our little handhelds that we normally carry around. We communicate. Merv has his there. All the amateurs in Leisure World have the equivalent of this. Not necessarily the same, but equivalent. And under the new type of technology we have, I can cover 2 bands with this one. It's about a 5-watt rig, and it'll reach out anywhere we need.
Mm-hmm.
What more can we ask? We have instant communications when no one else does, because we carry our own power supply with us.
This is fantastic. Now, we're going to be talking about, you have a new emergency drill coming up in this month, in April,
right.
the 30th. In 1996, you had a big drill in Leisure World. Now, for the residents who were not here in 1996 and were not aware of what was going on, we have a videotape that we're going to be running in. Ray, can you get that thing ready for us back there? And we're going to have Ray roll in a videotape, just a clip from that disaster drill from 1996. Then we're going to talk about the new one that's coming up for 1999. Do you have that ready, Ray?
We have emergency going. We just had a second one, and there's a lot of traffic going on this channel.
Emergency nurse 92 to 93, come in please. Do you have paramedics or medics onto the pharmacy? I need a negative or positive.
Did you copy?
And you're not bleeding from any place else?
It's got exposed bone.
That can wait. This is the one we have to move through. But medics...
It's possible fracture.
937.
Listen, I'll get out of here too. We need somebody.
Well, that's a heck of a no. Just because nobody knows him.
She's turned in a log for a flash report, immediate transport of critical patients.
This thing is going better than I could have. Damage to our library and we've had very fast fire responding. We've got some real emergencies in the middle of all this too, so it's going very well. Reporting. Club 3, and it looks to be okay.
The real thing, you know, everything would stop.
Yes.
And people would not be, you know, they will be communicating strictly only for emergency. You know, they're not going to do anything else. Did that work pretty good?
Yeah.
We had a little bit, I think we're going to look at our communication system a little more depth. You need that. And power-wise, we can be on the ham radio, we can be on different frequencies, we're tied with the county, we're tied with all the agencies on their systems, so they know how we are operating.
Look at this.
How you doing?
He's the one who is assigned to coordinate on a daily basis, you know, and then what we have is we have a lot of volunteer-based group, they help him with that. We have all of the staff, you know, coordinated. The medical center is involved with that. Our own service maintenance personnel for repair part of it. With the county, the radio club, a lot of the clubs in here have experts in this area.
Okay, what'd you think about that?
Oh, that was a fun drill.
Uh-huh.
But they're very useful to do that, you know. We
Oh.
have to practice those things.
That looks so professional.
Well, we hope to make it better this time. We've learned a lot from that drill. And as we look back at these videotapes like that, and Carl and I both can see things that we can do better, and we'll do more of this time.
What can you do better?
Communications is really the key to any disaster control like
Absolutely.
this, you know. And it starts, in our case at Golden Rain Foundation, with our company radios, which I've got on my belt here. And it's a 2-channel radio so that we can communicate within Leisure World with the employees and with disaster workers also, with the medical center. You saw how the medical center operated with their makeup. That was fortunate that year. It was on Halloween. They were ready for us.
Yeah.
But this year it won't be Halloween, and they're also already getting volunteers to do this. So what we're going to do this year is a little more elaborate, really, than the last one. On April the 30th in the afternoon, sometime around 1 o'clock, the earth is going to shake, and we're going to experience about a 7.0 earthquake. And it's going to knock the power out in this area. And the Edison plant and Haynes plant are going to go down. There will be no phones operating. And as this happens, there's an airplane on final approach to Long Beach Airport. And guess what? It loses radar contact, and it comes down right in Leisure World.
Oh, my gosh.
So we're going to try to do
This is
all of
really
the
gonna
different
be a mess.
disasters that we can put together.
Oh,
you know.
this is going to be fantastic.
So we'll have an airplane crash, we'll have an earthquake, and as a result of that, anything that you can imagine that can result from that, looters could come in, you know. And,
Oh, yes.
we have to be very vigilant with that. We have to be very vigilant for fires and rescue, and our maintenance people
And
will
finding
take that.
people that maybe their homes have been damaged and they're too feeble to get out.
Right.
So how many or I call them ham operators, amateur radio operators are we talking about in Leisure World?
Well, in all honesty, I don't know how many. I'm hoping many of them will come in and see, but we have 20-some listed right now who are members.
Who are active members?
They are active members. Now, from that clip, if you noticed, virtually everyone was carrying a little handy talkie around.
Yes, they were.
That was the communication.
Okay, but besides the amateur radio club, Merv was saying that all the employees have some sort of a handy talkie.
That's correct. They have
they can
these
communicate
company radios. But we're talking 8 hours during the day. The rest of the time, we're without them. We do have security. Security is equipped with them.
They're
That's correct.
round the clock.
Because every official we've had come by and talk to us, give us information, everyone without exception say, depend upon the first 72 hours you're on your own.
Mm-hmm.
That means we won't have fire. Good chance we won't. Good chance we won't have the police department in. Not saying they will or won't, but there's a good chance of it. And they're the ones that tell us that. So we have to have our communications. Now, for instance, when we had the floods here a couple of years ago,
right.
We had Red Cross in. But it took a while to get them in. Took a little while to get fire in. Of course, they couldn't do a lot in all that deep water.
Did the amateur radio club do?
Oh, yes, we were very active at that time. No. And we had everybody out there giving reports on the depth of what was happening, and it was it was a disaster in the making.
That's true.
Sure
it was.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was.
So all in all, I'm very happy with it. But like Merv says, we learned a tremendous amount from that last drill, and we expect to learn a lot more from this.
Well, now, in your amateur radio club, are you finding a decline in people becoming interested or being interested in it with email and websites and the interest in computers and all? Has it done anything to?
Yes, it has. It's had a rather, I wouldn't say a dramatic effect, but of course, Leisure World being what it is, we wouldn't expect to have younger people coming into it, although we're losing them on the outside. We really are. And because of that very thing, computers and internet has drastically affected it. And I can understand that. I'm on the internet, I'm into computers, I'm into all the usual things, but I also recognize that it's my first love is amateur radio. And when push comes to shove, there won't be any internet. There will be no email coming in.
You have to have electricity and telephone lines for that.
It's all that simple. And because of our location here, you know, it's not very far down the road here to the Edison Company and DWP. They're both located so close. We lose them, we got deep trouble.
Sure. Yeah. Well, we try to plan for all the contingencies we can, and as Carl was saying there, we are the last line. The amateur radios are the last line of communications.
Yeah.
If all the power and so forth goes off, we have emergency power available. Our emergency operations center,
that's what I was
where
gonna
the
ask
office was, we have a generator that powers that up. We can power the radios. We can charge batteries in there.
That's good.
You saw the two ladies sitting there at the desk. What they do is they receive reports from all around the community from the building captains who check their buildings, see who's injured, who isn't, pass that information on to an amateur radio operator at the clubhouses where those emergency supply buildings are. The amateur radios then go through them, amateur operators go through them, and if they see somebody that needs immediate attention, they can immediately radio that up to our center, and we can dispatch then whatever we need. We can dispatch out maintenance to help them. We can dispatch the nurses or the paramedics or whoever. But Carl's right. We probably won't have paramedics available to us. We probably won't have police available to us. In any disaster, this is the first thing they teach you. Look out for your own first. You know, I don't live in Leisure World. I live in La Mirada, but I am able to communicate with Leisure World via the radio. Both amateur and the company radio. I have an antenna that I can reach clear down up there on the company radio, so I can be of some service by radio. But you look out for your own first, and that's why we say in Leisure World, have 72 hours of supplies in your own home, and your shoes under the bed so you don't want to get up and walk in broken glass, a flashlight handy if it's at night, and some food and water available. There's not going to be anybody come around like the Red Cross, maybe for over 72 hours. We just don't know how long it takes to get these people in, depending on the size of the disaster.
I don't think we can emphasize enough the necessity for each individual household to have these emergency supplies. I know myself, I check my battery radio at least once a week to make sure the batteries are working. I have flashlights in every room, and I check those to make sure that they're always working, because, you know, it's one thing to have this emergency equipment available, but if you don't keep your batteries up, and probably the same with your amateur radio operators, they probably need to keep their batteries up.
We try to emphasize that constantly. Another point I might bring up, many of us have motorhomes, which we do park in Leisure World. And I have mine totally ready. I mean, I have a good supply of water, extra food and fuel in there. I have my own generator I can maintain for extended period of time. But another thing, well, Marv mentioned at the clubhouses, we have the small tin buildings, readily built buildings, which we do have supplies in. Not food, but we have a certain amount of medical supplies, drinking water, small generator, lights where we necessarily could possibly power up at least part of the clubhouses. But the more important thing is that wouldn't be a bit of good if you can't get in. So each of the amateurs who are in our club have a key.
Oh, that's good to know.
And they are assigned to the various locations. So yeah, we're ready for that, we hope at least.
How many people would you say are assigned to each clubhouse?
We try to maintain a minimum of 2. Plus at the front gate, to maintain with security, and of course up at Merv's office there in the amphitheater building. And so, well, we covering 4 clubhouses. The Albert Clubhouse 5, I believe, we don't have anybody assigned there. But that and the front gate, so there's 10 of them assigned right there, plus whichever else we have. What we tell our amateurs is, in the event of whatever, and you know it's a disaster, you'll know if it's bad enough. First thing you do is, if you're okay and you're able to manipulate, turn on your radio. We have an assigned frequency.
Okay.
Once we have contact, we've got that part made.
Right. Now, you were also telling me before we went on the air that you check in with each other every morning.
Every morning.
All the amateur radio people in Leisure World who at least are taking an active part in this check in every morning. Tell me about that now, Merv.
Well, at 9 o'clock, somebody comes on the air and gives his call sign, and usually the first guy on the air, we let him be what we call net control. And then everybody else that wants to check in the morning calls us in with their amateur call sign, and then we go have a kind of a round table discussion from there. And we talk about a lot of different things. You kind of call it like a chat room or whatever, you know, because we talk about, well, is your wife still okay? She had an operation, this type of thing. But we try to keep track of each other, you know, that way. But the main purpose of it all is to check out our equipment to make sure it's operating properly. And,
isn't that?
And then when we can sit there and talk with each other like that, and we have a good time doing it too, you know.
Yeah, I know you do.
We have a lot of fun with it.
My late husband was an amateur radio operator, and he used to check in with you guys every morning. Well, I don't know if he did every morning, but quite frequently. And he was very, very active in even though he was terribly disabled, he was very active in the disaster preparedness program, took it very, very seriously, and I guess one of the reasons it's so near and dear to my heart is because I always felt safe as long as there was an amateur radio, a shortwave radio in my house, because...
You brought up a very good point there when you said disabled, too. We have some of our operators are disabled and have infirmities, and they can't get out, and they say, well, I won't be of any use to you in the disaster. And I says, does your radio work?
Yeah.
Well, yeah. I says, then you will be of great use. You stay right at your house and let us know what's going on in your area. You know, we need to know information from where you live as well as from other places in the community. So it doesn't matter if you can walk or see or hear or anything. Just get on the radio, check in, let us know that you're all right, first of all, and then we can use you as our eyes and ears out there.
And keep those batteries fresh.
Yes, exactly. Keep them charged well.
That is really probably our biggest problem, and it's so easy because many people forget. And as we get older, that's easy to do, as we all know. So we try to encourage, get some spares and throw them in the refrigerator, that's all.
Well, what would you want to tell the people now with this drill coming up the 30th of April? We want everybody to be aware that drill is coming up the 30th of April. What do you want to tell them about it? And do you want them to come around and watch the operation?
Oh,
sure. Or tell us what you want.
Well, we're going to, first of all, April the 2nd, we're going to do our final practice drill, we call them. And we've had 2 meetings on this already where all of our, we call it our emergency response team, both residents and GR, we get together and we set up the scenario of this disaster, as I already told you, the earthquake and the airplane crash. And then we go from there. We get into the detailed planning of it. And actual planning of these things takes a lot longer than I always thought. It seems like you just go out and do them. Well, you don't. You really have to plan it and make sure everybody knows where they're supposed to go. So on April the 30th, about 1 o'clock in the afternoon, you'll hear the siren go off again there in our communication band. But by the way, that communications band that you saw earlier belongs to the Seal Beach Police Department. It was their old SWAT band. It's on loan to us, and we have an amateur radio set up in there with generator and first aid supplies and so forth. That will start the drill, and then we'll have people out there that will be calling in, and they'll say, oh, we've had this earthquake, we've had an airplane crash, whatever the situation, and they can make up things as they go. Building captains, though, go out, and they have a form. They go around, and if they're able, they go around to their buildings, check their residents, turn those forms into a committee person at their mutual level. If evacuations are necessary, go to the nearest clubhouse. We use those as our emergency shelters, provided they're still left standing.
Yeah,
If not, go to the parking lots. We'll have tents available as soon as possible. You know, there's just so many contingencies that we try to think about. But until a disaster actually strikes, you just never know what you're going to do and how you're going to react. That's why we drill, though. That's why we practice these things. So you will react in somewhat a professional manner, and hopefully we'll come out of them okay.
Do we have any kind of a program for the residents to get involved and be, we're winding this down now, we just got about 30 seconds, but
Okay.
Is there anything that the residents can do to sign up to be an assistance in this?
There'll be some people out asking for volunteers for crash victims and this sort of thing. And the medical center is taking care of the victims that they'll provide, like they did in the other one there, and drill, and they'll have some people made up. We'll stage them out there in the parking lot and have the ambulance ready and go pick up the people from the airplane crash. So it's going to be very interesting. And by the way, the video club is going to be there taping it, so we can.
Yes, they will.
We'll be able to critique it later and see what we can learn from this.
Right,
too.
and then we're going to show it to all of our viewers in its entirety.
Oh, wow.
And well, they're giving me the signal that we got to go for now. Thank you very much for coming.
We thank you.
Thanks for
on
having
the
us,
show
Betty.
and talking to us about this. And I hope that after this is all over, you'll come back.
Oh, yeah. Well, Carl and I really get wound up about this amateur.
We don't know when to quit. That's our problem.
For sure.
Well, thanks again.
Thank you.
Thank you.